Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now, let's hear it for our special guest host, Andy Riddle.
Honor of mine to be asked to activity call today. So we will get started. I got some cool news Tia Land had showed me yesterday with the building game going on. There's a slight change to the point system, which I think a lot of you guys will like because it makes it easier to get points. If you have an agent that you've fast-tracked and contracted, and they get their first deposit, but it was in the previous game into the new game, it counts when the new deposit hits. So it'll be easier to get more points because it'll give you more time to get them up and running than it previously had. So it gives you kind of an advantage to get those 10,000, to get to the 10,000 points to make you eligible for the bonus points to get in there. So it's a new change, small little tweak to the building game to make you get more points faster or help you get more points. So it's a cool little change that she wanted me to announce and put into the builder game. So be on the lookout for that. The points will start climbing and should be easier to get those 10,000 points to get you up there eligible for the bonus points for Thailand. So that's a cool change. But with that, I get to talk today. You guys got me for a whole hour. I have no guest. And you get to hear from me on how it's been to be coached from our president and CEO, Andy Albright, for the last 18 years. And so I took some notes on my phone. So if you see me look down like this, it's my phone. I got a bunch of notes on it. I try to make sense of them because I've been taking the last couple of days. I've been thinking back over the things that he's taught me and done. And 18 years is a long time and a lot of information. He's had what he was handed when he started coaching me 18 years ago was not a very good book, I guess. So there's been a lot of coaching. So there's a lot of notes in here, and I've tried to make sense of them and try to make them kind of flow. I did my best. I'm not saying they're going to flow. We may jump around a little bit, but being coached by someone with Andy, looking back the last 18 years, it's the greatest asset I have. So when you think of the value of stuff that you have, my greatest asset's the coaching from Andy. So when I met him 18 years ago, I wanted to get coached by him. I remember my upline used to teach us to do a proper introduction. So I'm going to start with that because I still think it's important when you meet Andy to give a proper introduction, tell him who you are, where you're from, and who you've been hired by in this business. So I remember when first time I met Andy, it didn't get off to a great start. I said to Andy, hey, my name's Andy. Hey, Andy, my name's Andy. So we're saying Andy and Andy back to back was kind of like confusing to me. So I was like, it was almost like I stuttered. I was like, hey, Andy, I'm Andy. And I was like, to me, when I said it, I was like, did I just stutter my first introduction to Andy? So it was kind of like, hey, Andy, I'm Andy. I'm direct from Jacksonville, Florida, direct to Mark Womack. And he's like, huh? Because I was like nervous, stuttering, trying to get around him. And I think when you meet Andy for the first time or you get around Andy, it's important to always introduce yourself that way until he comes up to you and be like, hey, Andy. And I'm like, hey, he knows my name. So that's one of the things. It's like I always wanted to get around greatness, and when I met Andy and saw Andy, I was like, I want to get to know that guy. I want to be coached by that guy. That's the guy I want to get around and do it. So early on, trying to figure out how to get around him. So I remember when I first got started in my first 6 months in this business, when I went full-time in this business, first 6 months of full-time, I went to 6 conferences in 6 months. So it was like every single month I was going to something to get around him. And so like today, the things that would be going to, I remember I went to our national convention. It was in January. Then I went to, there was like another special meeting at corporate office that he had done for people to get into. And I went to that. And then I went to another thing. It's a lot like these intense trainings that he's doing now. I went to one of those. I was just anything I could get around Andy, I wanted to get around him and really take advantage of what he was offering. So it was important. I was traveling. If he was doing a meeting like out here in California, I'd fly out to California. I remember when the first time he knew my name was in Columbus, Ohio. He's like, "Hey, Andy," and I went up to him. He's like, "Do you live here?" And I was like, "No, I live in Florida." He's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "You're here, and I wanted to get around you and watch you." So it's that chasing of him and getting around him to do things to get around him, just to get on his radar first, but also to get the coaching and learn the industry, learn our systems of what we did. So that's kind of how I started to try to build a relationship with him and to get around him. So I recommend if you say, "Hey, I want to be around Andy Albright, I want to be coached by him, I want to get around him more," he's available. But it may take you some effort, some money, some time to do it. Because if I waited for him to come to Jacksonville, heck, if I think back of how many times he's come to Jacksonville in the 18 years, I probably can count it on like one hand. And it wouldn't be, you just can't wait for him to come to you. You have to go to him. And it's knowing to make those trips and make those sacrifices that it's important. Because like I said, it's my greatest asset that I have is my relationship with him, and knowing the value of the relationship with an Andy Albright and how much he's helped me through the years. And it's knowing the things you do. Now, other things you want to do is you want to he's written books. You should probably read his books. And when I always think it's like Jane Albright once told me to read a book, and I didn't want to read it. It was about how to make your bed, and she required me to write a book report after I read it and give it to her. So it's kind of like if you're trying to learn Andy, it'd like read his book, but write a book report afterwards. Like the one thing about that book that Jane made me read about making my bed was I knew since I had to report back to her with a report on what I learned from the book. You really you read it different. You know what I mean? 'Cause you got to talk about it. You got to turn something in. You got to do stuff. So when you read Andy's books, make sure you read them like you have to write a book report, or even write a book report or, at the end of it, and do those things. So make sure you're doing that. Be on his calls. He does the activity call. He does the TWC. He does the activity call a lot. He doesn't do it every week, but he does it a lot. Make sure you're on his calls and learn from him there. Attending all meetings that he does. If you like, I wasn't in Baltimore last week, but I'm here in California. Attend as many of those meetings as you can, especially the big meetings, the 4 times a year with national conventions. Don't miss those. Make sure you're doing the things that attend all the meetings and getting around him as much as you possibly can. Visiting the home office, that's a huge asset that he's invested a ton of money into. Not only is he there, but the staff that he's put forward to help you build your business. Take advantage. That's one thing I think people overlook a lot is he's invest assets into you to help you grow your business. Take advantage of what he's done. A lot of Andy's mentorship and the assets of making him the greatest asset that I have is my relationship with him. But a lot of the relationship is with Tia Land, Robbie Kraft, like just listing off people at the corporate office, the Clay Murders. Having those relationships is through Andy, and Andy's put them in place to help me grow my business. So make sure you're at that office and building those additional relationships that he's providing for you, because that's in turn a relationship through Andy, through having using President's Club, using the ARC, knowing the commissions department, knowing the lead department, the ABTF, marketing, knowing the YouTube videos that they put out. Billy Chavis and the team puts out some crazy great YouTube videos to really help you build your business and recruit people and bring people aboard. Marketing videos, use those things to your advantage. That's all things that Andy provides for us to do as well. The contracting department, hotspots all across the country, boot camps all across the country. BAM with Chris Norris's team there, and attending those conferences. It's knowing that all that encompasses is what Andy's put together for you. And the more you take advantage of that stuff, the more you get Andy inside of you, because all those things have Andy's hand on them to where he's really trying to build the things for you. and to you. So it's knowing how to do that stuff. And it even goes to like the carriers. He's hand selected the carriers that we use. He's hand selected the relationships that we use. Pay attention to that and work with those carriers and have those contracts, and even the resources for different schools and stuff to get insurance license and stuff. We have those resources that he's built in there. So knowing those things and taking advantage of those things, it'd be really difficult to go up to Andy and be like, hey man, how's the commissions work? And not knowing there's a commission department. There would be, or it'd be like, hey, could we do this? And it's all, a lot of these things are questions that he's already had answered and put things in place for you. Make sure you're taking advantage of all the stuff that he's put out there, as much as possible. It's one of those things that's like, take advantage of what he provides and the stuff to do it. So that's just a little bit of things like when I was trying to build my relationship with Andy and get closer to him were things that I did. I wanted to take advantage of this. It's like, if he feels there's some of this stuff when I like, when you do it, you just like, why is it important that I need to have this? Why is it important I have to have this? But the more you do it, and the more you get into this business, the more you need these resources and things that he provides to have for you. So it's knowing you don't, I'm not looking to bog Andy down in the weeds with these kind of things. These are things that he's built in a system for me where I don't have to worry about asking him. Like, I don't know everything about the ARC, and I'll get in there and I'll be like, hey, Robbie, where's this report? Or how do I get this? And he'll show me, but I'm not asking Andy how to do that. And Andy thinks it's important, but that's why he's put a Robbie Kraft in place, and that's why they built the ARC. So there's a bunch of different things that you want to do and know where you're going with this stuff, but using the resources that he's put in place to really help you do things. So those are some of the ways that, like, to build a relationship with Andy, I've really tried to do is try to follow his system and follow it to the best of the ability and try to stay in line with what he does, as well. And it's one of those things. It's like he provides it, he puts it out there. If you don't take advantage of it, I just think of it as, I haven't written a book, but if you wanted to get coaching by me and I had written a book, I'd hope you read it, because it's like they put a lot of their important information in there. And if it's something you haven't read, then it would be, you'd probably have questions about the stuff that he's already put in a book for you. So, just know that you want to do those things. All right, so I'll get into some of the stuff. That was just my intro, like the brief stuff. So I'm going to try to hit all my notes. I got pages of them, so we'll try to get through them. But I'm going to try to dig into some of these things too, because some of the things that happened years and years ago, and it still remembers. It's still like yesterday that I remember, like, it's like I remember where I was when I had this conversation, all these kind of things that I've had with him. So it's kind of cool. So with Andy, with the vision and the vision that he's had, when the first conference I went to and I saw him up on stage and I was like, oh my gosh, he's larger than life, but he had a vision. And one thing Andy's always told me is, like, your vision needs to be big enough that all your guys on your team dreams and visions fall inside of yours. And that's one thing I've loved about when I've gotten to know Andy, and the more I've known him, is his vision is so large. It's like my dreams, and I keep expanding them and growing them, fit inside of what he's got in his vision too. And and he challenges me on that vision, and it's always putting that vision out there. I remember, I think it was Jane Albright told me, it's like, it's it's Andy's world. We're just all living in it, but it's a pretty cool world, you know. And my assistant told me a couple years ago, she goes, "It's just your world. We're just all living in it." I was like, "Well, at least I'm copying what Andy's doing. I'm trying to create a world like a cool world to live in." And the vision that he's done. But when I look at Andy and Jane and what they do as parents, to Haley and Spencer, it's kind of like when I watched that years ago, I was like, I want to be a parent like that. I want to be able to do those things like they do with their kids. And but a lot goes with that. Like, you watch them take the cool trips, you watch them do the cool stuff. You know, Andy and Spencer just got back from Turkey, and it's like just watching the bonding that father son bonding and the trips they get to take, and I've watched it for 18 years. But you also watch Andy miss stuff. Like he has to go, like he's out here in California right now with us, and he gets on planes and goes and builds his business and travels. So it's like I understood to build this business, I had to do the same stuff that he did. Like he got up and went. He didn't just sit in the. He's not just sitting at the corporate office every single day behind his desk just making phone calls. He does it when he's there, but it's like he gets out and moves. And it's in this business, I just knew I had to get out and move as well and go. But as a father, I think you get the idea that sometimes, at least I did in my head, that like if I'm not home for everything or if I'm not there every single moment, I'm a bad dad. But then when I watched Andy, that's the father I wanted to be. And I'm like, but he went and did. And he taught me years ago as a father, it's you don't want your kids to see you not work, because then you raise lazy kids. You want your kids to see you get up and go and really move and take action. And that's what Andy did. So that's what I've always wanted to do. I want to be a father like him. So I've wanted to take action and move. And it's kind of cool because it's like I've never financially, my kids don't have to have a job, but they went and got jobs. Like they just wanted to work. They go to college, they wanted to have jobs, they want to have extra money. They're on our payroll, but they also have their own payroll through a job. So there's like, let's do more of it. It's cool because I watch what Andy and Jane did, and then my kids automatically start working as well. They know they have to move, they have to do stuff, and I watch how they did that. I did it as a leader. The way Andy leads this organization and the people out there, and the way he brings us all together as a leader, as like a family. It's just cool with his ability of his vision of what he's trying to create, and then pulling us all into it, and then having my vision fit in there, Leventovich's vision in there, Abian's in there, Fitz's in there, Davies in there, all these, and they're all completely different. And he knows them, but the way he manages that leadership, it's one of the things in my organization I try to copy. It's like, how's he make, we're all great friends, but we're all very different personalities. And the way he's mingled it and pulled us together to work together for a common goal, it's mind blowing to me. And it's one of those things that I'm always constantly trying to watch how he does it, like how he manages egos, how he manages emotions and relationships with each one of us. And it's different with each one. So it's cool as a leader is watching him do that. And like we're out here in California, heck, this meeting out here on the West Coast tour, Fitz was here, Davies was here, Diane Lampy's here, Avian's here, a lot of integrity partners. Like it's how he mingles us all into the show and kind of works us in there to really work together, to put on the best meeting that we can, and really just does that. So it's amazing just on the way that he does that leadership and different things from there. So it's great in that sense. So the leadership in there, Andy's drive that he provides. I think back, I'm trying to remember. I went back and I read the book Relentless, and when I was reading that book, Tim Grover, he's a trainer of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And in that book, he talks about like there's different levels of he trained NBA basketball players. So well, he only trained Jordan and Kobe because they wouldn't allow him to train anyone else because they wanted just him. They didn't want anyone else to get his coaching. But in that book, he talks about in different levels, and he's talking about NBA players. So he's not talking about like people like me that never made the NBA. He's talking about like all the greatness players of like the bad players in the NBA are great. So he's talking about leveling those guys up, and he has different levels of for each one of those. He's got the coolers, which are kind of like the bench warmers, and they get in the game some and play a little bit. The coolers, was it? No, he just got his coolers, closers, and cleaners. So, and then the closers are more like your all-star level, and then the cleaners are like your Michael Jordans, your Kobe Bryants of the world, the guys that really just go out there and the way he came up with it is when he was training Michael Jordan, they went to the Olympics, and the Olympic team, what they called the original dream team, with the best of the best players in the world. And he said when he would watch practices, there was one guy that was different than all the other superstars in the NBA that were on this dream team, and it was Jordan. And he's like, all these guys are considered closers, but I need to come up with another level because he's higher level than all these closers, and that's where he came up with a cleaner. And as he's defining what a cleaner is in the book, I'm reading that and I'm thinking that's Andy Albright to me, the cleaner that he is. So the vision that he has. So I remember after I read the book, I sent him a copy of the book. Wrote him something in the beginning of what he meant to me in the cleaner status, but it's that cleaner mentality that we have a leader in the alliance that's a cleaner, that's a Michael Jordan level of thought in this business. And honestly, if you think of the insurance world, or if you get around some of these insurance executives and CEO and talk to them about Andy, he is the Michael Jordan of the insurance industry, and we have him here. And it's taking advantage of that and actually knowing really Andy's tricky in the sense that, like, when you meet him and get to know him, all of a sudden you just think you're like, he's good because you're like, we're like best friends. We're like hanging out. We're buddies. And you almost start thinking we're equals. But then you're like, wait a minute, he's got two jets. He drives a Rolls Royce. He's got multiple houses in different countries. It's like and it's one of those things that you got to watch for because he's so good at building relationships with people and building and making you feel comfortable. It's still knowing that it's it's one of the challenges for me has been for the 18 years is not getting so comfortable with him that he's not still the mentor. He's still not the guy I want to learn from. He's still, because when you get comfortable with stuff, you take advantage of it. It's like you don't travel to it. Like when I heard he was doing the California meeting, I'm like, I got to get there. I got to be around him. He's out there. It's when he's doing the intense training, when he offers up to do a cabin retreat for my team, I'm like, yeah, I'll fill it. I didn't know how to get 15 guys there, but we'll figure it out. We'll do it. So it's knowing the things that it's knowing that relationship, but not getting in your mind too much that you're the same. It's that mentor and mentee relationship. It's one of those things. It's for me. It's always been like because he's so good at building the relationship and bringing me in close to him. To keep in mind, you got to keep in your mind like, hey, we're still. This is how it works, and you don't want to because you don't want to take advantage of missing the stuff that he can help you with, and not getting too crazy tight, and knowing like how much he's really trying to help you and grow your business and get you to your goals and dreams. So that's from the book Relentless. It's just if you read the book, I love the book. It's my favorite book. But in that title, when he talks about cleaners, that to me, that's what Andy Albright is to me. He's the ultimate cleaner to do so. So. And when you watch him and stuff happens, it's one of the things that when I met him, and I think I'm much better at now, but I completely owe to him is just watching how he reacts to stuff. Um, like there's things that 18 years ago, if that stuff happens to me now that when it hits me, I'm kind of like, huh, see how this turns out or see how this goes. And I've learned that stuff from Andy because I watched him deal with some things that would to me would be like catastrophic or take me out for a couple days or really just emotionally not be able to handle it. And then I watch him and it's like, huh. And I remember once I was at the home office and something a really good friend of his passed away, and he got the phone call like 10 minutes before the TWC, and then he went right on the TWC and just kept going. He's like, I'll deal with it later. You can't deal with it now. I got to go do this. And just that mentality of how he does those things and asking him one of the things I remember is like, how'd you do that? How'd you get up there and talk about that? And he's like, I had to go. I had stuff to do, so I had to do it. So a lot of times it's just that movement stuff that he's taught me. Is like, hey, when something happens, just keep moving. You go do the next thing, and that movement stuff. And he's like, you'll get through the stuff. You'll take care of the stuff you have to take care of. Just move through the things. And his ability to, I guess, to brush it off, but also he's handling stuff and he's getting stuff done. So it's not like he's just forgetting it. He deals with it when he needs to deal with it. But right now he's got to do that. And it's been a cool trait to watch him and him to coach me to kind of the emotional side and the mental side to do those things. it's been huge for me because there's a lot of times things happen that would have happened 18 years ago. I would not have, and they're not, those things weren't bigger than they are now. It's just the way I handle them now, and the way he's taught me how to handle these things and these emotion stuff to do it. So he did a meeting with me at his office once, one on one. We're sitting in there. I drove up to Burlington and sat down with him, and I remember this like he took out a sheet of paper and drew a line right down the center of the page. So if you're listening to this, just imagine a down because I'm just drawing it down the screen, but imagine just drawing a line down the middle of the page. And he's like, this line down this middle of the page is me. This is what I do. And he's like, you're really good in the sense that you'll follow the line for a little bit and then you'll veer off to the side and doing your own thing. And then you'll come right back to the line later on. You'll realize that didn't work and come back to the line. And then you'll follow me for a little bit and then you'll veer off on the task a little bit and then come back to the line. And he's like, you veer off every time you veer off and then come back to the line. He's like, you come back and it's not like you're not following the lines or you're doing this. It's just you're not doing what I'm doing and you're not paying attention. So I remember when he's having this conversation with me, it was back when we first started selling annuities. And he had brought annuity companies on and we're teaching people how to uncover annuity money. And he's like, you sit there and wait. I talk about this annuity stuff, and then you just sit there and wait, and you don't talk about it. Like I'm talking about it from stage. I'm talking about it from TWCs. I'm teaching it at meetings and all this stuff, and you're not talking about it to your guys, which is you veering off to the side. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, that's making us more money, and you get back online. And he's like, that space, that gap where you veer off is costing you time and money every single time. And he's like, you come back to the line, but it's like you're wasting that time and money. Like recently, if I think of like things recently that he's done, is like adding the seminars, the trust seminars with how that's changed our business so much. But he brings it out and people are just like, we'll see how it happens or we'll see how it works or whatever. And they're late to the game. And it's great that they get back in the game, but that time and money they lost while they weren't doing it. So it's one of the things I've tried to treat. I try to stay on that line as best I can. Like I watch what he's saying, watch what he's promoting, watch what he's doing, and try to stay in that line with him. It's one of the biggest lessons that he's taught me over the years it's listening to what he's promoting and listening to what he's doing. It's in other ways too, you could put it as like people always say, what's a contest I could run? And I'm like, he's running a contest. He has a builder contest where you can get 50,000 points. Why don't you just promote that? Or it's like, I want a big contest for my team, something to get them excited for the whole year to hit a big year. I was like, he's got a contest going to go to Thailand. Promote that. It's like you don't have to be creative. He puts these things in front of you. Just promote the things that he's got. Stay in line. Stay in the alignment with Andy, and do the stuff to really create that. So that's one of the things, the alignment that he's taught me over the years, and stay as tight in that alignment with him. And it's watching him. It's like, because it's like I remember saying to him, why don't you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And he's like, I am telling you what to do. Watch the TWC, and I'm talking about this. That's what you do. Those are your orders or your plans or me telling you what to do. So watch what he's doing. Don't just sit there and be like enjoyment of instead of watching the show, watch the show. Like watch it with intent of figuring out what he's doing so you can be in alignment with what he's doing. That's what I've been doing out here in California. I'm watching him. I'm studying what he does. I'm watching how he talks. Yesterday, he was working with this new agent in front of the room and really getting to know her and digging into her and her goals and where she's at and this stuff. And it's just amazing. It's when he's taking that. I think back to when he talks about how they teach the whales at SeaWorld to jump out of the water. And he's like, first they lay the line on the bottom of the pool. And he's always that line on the bottom of the pool. And it's one of the things that I've struggled with over 18 years. It's like I always want to raise that line up to teach at a higher level, but he's always teaching at the bottom, just swim over the line. And watching him do that for 18 years, and it just drives me nuts that I don't do that yet. it's like I always somehow raise that line up a little bit, and it's like he's always he's always on that ground. He's always got the line lower than everyone else, and it comes a challenge in my head. It's like, how do I just keep that line down? So when I study him, I'm just watching him do those very basic things, and it's frustrating to me because I just complicate stuff. So um, it's figuring out how to do that. And still 18 years later, he puts me in awe every time I get around him, watching how he does that and doing those things. So really just making sure that you follow and study what he's doing, as for me, has been in that alignment, has been huge for me, just watching what he does. And people say he's tricky like that. I was like, he's not tricky. He's just saying it all the time. He's just trying to get you to do it. It's that basic stuff, like doing the basics. So in there. He's the one that taught me cash flow. It's someone. I think when we were getting ready to do our last conference and we did our skit on the cash flow quadrants. I think Gina Hogg said Andy Riddle's the cash flow guy. I was like, no, it's just Andy taught me it, and I liked it. And he's always he showed me how to. First time I played the board game was with Andy Albright. He's the one that told me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and learning the cash flow quadrant and how money works. I remember sitting down doing my FIE with him and going through it and ways to invest and things that we do. And I remember having a conversation with him, and I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know what to ask you. Like, I don't know if I was just intimidated having a one-on-one conversation with him, or I just didn't know what to say, and I was like, I don't know what to ask you to do stuff with this sheet. I was like, I don't know what I'm not asking that I should be asking. And he's like, what are your two biggest frustrations? And at that time, I had just gone through my divorce. I was a single parent, so I would have my kids for these days, and then I wouldn't have them for these days. So I'd be like, the days I didn't have them, I'd travel, go get around agents, do stuff, and then when I did have them, I'd have to be back home, and I would catch up on my work. And I was like, I feel like I work 50% of the time, and the other 50% I'm catching up. And I remember him saying, teaching me, I had staff. My staff was doing like different types of stuff though. And he's like, you need a personal assistant staff, like a Missy Stipovich. And I was like, huh, I never thought of that, because it wasn't like he had taught me to hire staff early on to do pending. We used to have to do paper apps, all this kind of stuff. And so I had that staff. I didn't have a personal assistant staff. And he was showing me how, because a lot of the stuff I was doing was that back end office stuff that I thought I was selling to myself, this is important work. It's got to get done. If it doesn't get done, nothing happened. And he's like, no, you need a good assistant. You need to pay for a good assistant to do this stuff for you. And it's been like the greatest thing ever, because they've kept my schedule full. Like the number one rule on my personal assistant thing is my schedule. When my schedule's full, you're going to hear me bitch and complain, and when it's not full, you're going to hear me bitch and complain. So she's always going to hear me complain about my schedule. It's just one way you keep your job and one way you lose it. So when it's full, she keeps her job, and when it's empty, she loses it. And when you have an assistant that keeps their number one job is to keep you busy making money, it's on my schedule. I got to do it. So she loads it up, puts stuff on there, and now we have an assistant that puts a lot of stuff in there with the Philippines that President Club provides, that also puts stuff on my schedule. But my assistant makes sure that schedule's full and doing stuff. And it was sitting down with him on the cash flow quadrant, doing the FIE thing with him. He's like, you need one of these to be more doing high dollar stuff. I think back to when we were at the cabin too, he was doing I always say it's the target thing, where it's like the target, the outside ring is like $10 an hour work. The next one's like $25 work. The next one's like $50 work. And the middle one's like $200 work. And you're trying to get more hours in that $200 one so you can make more money. And then when you do that, the rings kind of expand out, and then the 200 becomes one of the outer rings, and then $1,000 is the center one. You're trying to build your value of things that he's taught me through the rings and where you're spending your time, and having that assistant that puts the things in my schedule. She's putting more $200 to $1,000 work on my schedule, and she's taking care of the $10, $15, $20 hour work stuff. So I don't have to deal with it, get bogged down with it. And having that assistant, and when he told me to hire one, I'm just like, I already got two people in my office, and now you're telling me to hire a third. and it's every time I've followed those steps, it's raised my income. It's shot up. So it's the huge value of knowing that, watching the things he says to do and how fast you put them into your system or put them into you is and the faster the income comes. I joke with some of my guys too that I coach, and we'll go over some stuff, and I was like, you need to do this, this, and this, and then they don't do them, or they put them off for weeks and don't put action behind them. And I always say, when we play cash flow, you just got to sit out turns, because you not moving is like sitting out turns. It's doing stuff. So every time Andy tells me to do stuff, I try to put it in as fast as I can, because the time is the thing that really slows people down and does stuff. So I remember too, when I wanted to build a big business, I told him I've always wanted to be his biggest organization. So I was like, I've always wanted to be the number one leg. I've always done it. Fitz was the guy for years and years and years. And I used to talk trash to Fitz and say, we're going to catch you. We're going to catch you. And he's probably, it's been a push that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be positioned to be his number one leg. And when I've sat down with him and told him I wanted to be that, I remember him telling me, it's a lot of work. And he's like, let's do this. Let's write down the things you want on the left side of the paper, all the things that you want to accomplish and do and have. And on the right side, let's write a list of things of everything you're willing to give up. And it was things that I was doing on the right side, the things I wanted to give up, I was willing to give up to achieve the things on the left side. And it's kind of one of those exercises. It's kind of tough because people are like, I'll give anything for it. And then I'm like, well, what about this? Your health? Would you give up your health? You achieve all this and you want to be sick. And he's like, well, I wouldn't give that up. Okay, let's think about the things you don't want to give up. Things I didn't want to give up was my relationship with my kids. I was unwilling to have a bad relationship with my kids, because one of the reason I got in this business was to have a better relationship with my kids. So that was one thing I was unwilling to give up. I didn't want to give up my health. I didn't want to give up my God, and I don't want to give up my marriage. So it's like, being with Angela, I don't want to affect that. I want to have strong things with my family, with my kids, my God, my health, and my relationship with my wife. So those were the things that were important to me. And the fifth thing was my business. So those were the five things I was important with. And I remember Andy telling me, he's like, if you want to be huge, everything you do either needs to be making money, having fun, or having time with your family. He's like, you got to put the things in those three things. And with my five things, those were the five things I was unwilling to give up. But everything else. So once you make a commitment like that, it's hard, because it's like, you just think of like, what's important. It's like, I'm a born in New York. I've been a Knicks fan my entire life. They've been terrible for 25 years, and they're in the playoffs doing good for the first time. And then they're doing terrible in this series, but they won last night. That's good. But but I've watched probably 10 minutes of playoff basketball with the Knicks, just because it's not important to me. It's like, I know the score, but it's not like, I'm not wasting 2 hours to do that. I got other stuff to do. I was in a meeting with Andy and they were playing last night. It's like, I'd rather be with him and learning and building those five things, because the Knicks aren't one of my five things. I was willing to give up watching the Knicks. Pick up basketball. I mean, health is important to me, but there's other things I do to work out, but I didn't need to be in every YMCA basketball league in the world. I gave that up. Things I was willing to give up for success. And think about with you, if you're listening to this and you want to get to another level, what are the things that really aren't adding to you to get to where the goals you wanted to go to? And think of the things you're willing to give up and the things you're not willing to give up. But those things you're willing to give up, how do you replace those times with things that are going to lead you to making those, like my five things that lead me to getting to those things and being better at those five things? Because I watch Andy and Jane, it's like with Spencer and Haley as they were growing, the cool things they did, but you also got to look at the things he didn't do. Like, he talks all the time about it. It's like, it's hard to see now, because he's like, with NC State, he's at a lot of games, he's on the sidelines at games. But the thing is, when he was building his business to get to the level that he's at, he wasn't at any games. He wasn't watching the games on TV. He was still an NC State fan, but he wasn't there. at the games. He wasn't, it wasn't important. That was the thing he gave up for that time period to have the life that he has now, that he's on the sidelines for the football games and he's friends with the coaching staff. You know what I mean? It's weird. I'm friends with the coaching staff, but it's because I'm friends with Andy. It's how that relationship works. So it's like it's having those things, and you watch what the things he gives up, and do you hear that he gave that up? And then you say, well, I want to be like him, and I want to have the lifestyle that he has. Are you willing to give up what your NC State is to you? Because I don't watch the Knicks. I mean I don't. It's kind of like in a passing when the 10 minutes I watched it. So it's what are you willing to give up to chase what you want to have? And that was a huge lesson to me when we did that sheet of paper of what I wanted and what I was willing to give up. And then you just decide what you're not willing to give up, you know. Some things he taught me too, because my kids, having a relationship with my kids when I was going through the grind of building this business early on. And I teach this a lot with my guys and Andy taught me this was, you got to do stuff with them even when you're going through the hard stuff. Like you can't not hang out with them when you're going through the grind of the business. So one of the things that he taught me early on was make goals with them in this business. So when I was trying to build it, we'd have a goal like we wanted to hit so much volume in a month, and but I knew if I traveled, I kept recruiting, I worked my butt off for that month, and we hit that goal, I had to reward my kids. And it was a reward for me too, because like I said, my biggest thing was I wanted to have a great relationship with my kids, and I wanted to do cool stuff, and I wanted to have the stuff that Andy had. But yeah, we'd have small little things. So we live like 2 hours from Orlando. So if we hit our goal, we would take a night or two and stay in a cool hotel down in Orlando. We wouldn't go to the parks. We didn't have time or extra money to do that. We would just go stay at like the Gaylord Palms, which has a cool water park in Orlando, and we'd go stay at that hotel. It's a nice hotel. We'd go do the water parks. We'd eat a couple meals, hang out, me and my kids, do those fun things, and then come home. But that was our reward, and we would go down there and do that every month. And but it's important when you do those things. Andy taught me this. He's like, make sure your kids are aware of what the goal is through the month. One is because they'll push you to go harder in the month to make sure you hit your goal, and they'll be the reminders to keep you moving. So they'd be like, how are you coming for the goal, Dad? Are we going to go to Orlando at the end of the month? And I don't know, for me, it was like I could let myself down on a goal, but I couldn't let my kids down from doing something with them. So when they knew what it was, and Andy taught me how to do that, he's like, when they know what your goal is and they get rewarded for it, they're going to remind you. Like Andy didn't have to remind me what my goal was. My kids did every single day. It asked and reminded me to do it and then push me. So do these little tricks with yourself. Do these little tricks with your team to help them hit their goals. I was sitting down with a couple yesterday before the meeting started, and I was talking to them, and I was like looking, and we're out here in California, and there's a Great Wolf Lodge out here, and I was like, hey, one of our goals one time was to go to the Great Wolf Lodge in Charlotte, and I was like, we went and stayed there for 2 days, and those are crazy kid hotels with water parks in them and different things, and my kids love that place, and we probably went to it 2 or 3 times, but it's because we hit monthly goals. And I was like, just come up with quick little goals where you get a day or two. Don't over celebrate it too. Don't take 10 days off because you hit a little goal. I mean, it's just a quick little thing, and it will recharge you to go harder next month and continue to do those things and reward the people with you that's sacrificing. Like my kid, I wasn't the dad that picked my kids up at school every single day because I was out building my business, but I also got to do cool things with them that other dads and other families didn't get to do because I was chasing my dreams. So make sure you reward the people that are going through the battle with you with different goal things that you have to motivate you to go out there and do it. Those have always been huge for me, is just because I'd be worn down after the 30-day run and we hit that goal. And then you're like, if you don't reward yourself for that stuff and do the things that build, like for me, hanging out with my kids was always like my recharge, and my kids loved it and it recharged me. And if you just hit the goal and just be like, all right, I got to do it again, or I'm going to raise my goal a little bit more, you just wear down. At least I would wear down. But when I would just go take a day or two at a cool little resort in Orlando and spend a couple of days with my kid, I would be recharged. We would figure out what we want to do next and then set another goal for the next month on that trip and then go do it again and then go do it again. But it was always like, it wasn't as hard to push those months and make those trips and go on those things when when I was getting rewarded and my kids were getting rewarded for what the hard work that we had put in. And it's having those little rewards to recharge you, to push you for the next month and the next month. And Andy's always taught me to do that. And I watch when I don't, the things they do now, it's watching him always get that rewards and going to do those things as well. It's for me, it's been huge over the 18 years, having that mentorship and showing me what to do that. Um, so that's one there. Having a mentor, and this is Andy's my mentor. So if you have like a Stephen Davies in your life, a Fitz in your life, it's the same thing. Those guys will help you because they've been trained by Andy too. If you're in my group, we can help you, but it's knowing the things that you're going to do, and they're going to lead you to the things that you want. So a good mentor is going to know what you want and know the things that drive you and try to figure out what to do it. Jeff Bright does an animal test, and Andy knows. The cool thing with the animal test is when you know what animals that your guys are, you should know how to motivate them and move them. And Andy's knows if you go back to just with the four animals, I'm a extreme lion, and he knows how to motivate lions. So and he does. I remember it's probably I don't even know if Jeff was with us. He was in Andy's office, or he had just started. It was like right when Jeff started or right before he started, but he was with Andy, and I was on a call with Andy, and we are looking at a recruiting report. And they used to post the top 10 managers recruits for the month. And I was usually like seventh or eighth. I was on the report, but the bottom 10, like the bottom side of the top 10. And in my mind, no joke, I was like, as long as I'm in the top 10, I'm good. As long as I'm in the top 10, I'm good. And I would sell myself that crap. Like, hey, you're in the top 10, you're doing great. There's a bunch of managers in the top 10, and I would do it. And I remember Andy saying to Jeff, he's like, here's where Riddle's at on this report. He's eighth. You know what I mean? And he thinks that's really good. And it is good. He's eighth. There's a lot of guys behind him and all this stuff. And he goes to Jeff. I remember him. It's one of those things he's telling Jeff with me on the phone. So he's really telling me, but he's talking to Jeff. And it's like, the reason he's okay with eighth and he's happy with being eighth is he's okay with this person beating him and this person beating him and this person beating him. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not okay with that. But then I'm also okay with just being in the top 10. And it's that relentless push where he's always driving to push me to be greater. And that's what I love with him as a mentor. He's always pushing me to another level that ultimately I don't even know if I could achieve. I remember, like I said, I always wanted to be his number one leg, but I also was okay with people beating me in things. It's like, well, how am I going to be the number one leg if he has a head start because he started the business before me, but I'm still letting him beat me in recruiting too. It's like you can't catch somebody that's beating you in something and has a head start. So it's like, not only do I have to, I can't make up the head start because he knew Andy before I did. I can't change that, but I can't let him beat me in this either. If I want to catch him, I got to start beating him in this. And it's knowing the mindset of what Andy's always, and him making those comments to Jeff was like, oof, yeah, I'm not okay with losing to these guys. I'm not. It's like things have to change to where, and his ability to motivate is unbelievable. I think of Adam Katz, my buddy Adam Katz, is like when it hit me, Andy had his hand on my shoulder, talking over me to a person across the table to me. But that's what Adam does, and I wasn't there, but deep down, I'm thinking Andy the whole time knew what he was doing, and just getting Adam, he's working Adam to get him moving. Just like when he was talking to Jeff when in the office saying all these people I'm okay with beating, he's knowing what he's doing. And it's kind of funny because I'll sit there and he'll still do it to this day. We'll say the stuff like, I'm okay with so and so beat me in this, because he knows it motivates the crap out of me. And I'm like, I know why he's doing it. I know what he's doing, but it works. And it's like, dude, I know what you're doing. You're trying to motivate me. I know, and it's working. So just let's go. It's kind of those things. But it's really cool to have a mentor that will always push you and always raise the bar for you. So I just think it, like I said, when I opened the call, it's the most valuable thing I have is having that mentorship. You want to find a mentor that's pushing you, that's willing to push you and push the limits and get the most out of you to do so. Couple other things I've always wanted to be for Andy. I've always wanted to be predictable and dependable. So when I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. Um, I don't want him to ever be worried that I'm not going to be like we're. I don't want him to like out here in California. It's not like I told him I was coming. I'm going to be here. I don't think he doesn't need to text me to remind me of the TWC every week. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I forgot it's Wednesday at 12:30. It's not like he has to remind me that the activity calls at 10 a.m. on Friday on the East Coast time. It's 7 a.m. out here in California. I don't need I wanted him to know that I'm on it. He didn't have to remind me. I want him predictable and dependable. I'm always there. When they ask me to do this call, it's just like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm just not going to be. I let them know. I'm just like, I'm not going to be in my home office where I won't have like the studio, but I'll do it here in California on my laptop as long as you guys are good with it. And they're like, yeah, so predictable and dependable. I just want. It's like you got to do it. And knowing the things you want to do. I always think back to like where I said I wanted to be his number one leg. It's kind of like Batman and Robin. I don't want to outshine him, but I want to be his most dependable number one guy. Because I'm not looking to outshine him. I'm looking to be that right hand man. I'm looking to be that guy there, and it's kind of cool because um, we're currently off volume, the number one leg in the alliance, and we were last year, and we've been every month this year. And even though Avian's team thinks they're winning this month, they're actually still behind us. But they're having a good month. It's just less than ours, which is cool. But I've like always wanted to be that guy. But then it's like you look at like Brandon and Spencer, like they have advantages too because one's his son and the other one's his son-in-law. And it's like, so now in my head, it's like, how do I become more important to Andy and Jane than those guys? And you're like, well, you can't because I was like, I don't know if can't's like the word. It's not going to be easy, but as like now I got to create so much space that I'm even more important than Brandon and Spencer. It's which now that's a trick. Like Angela said, wow, in the background, but it's like it's not going to be by a little bit. You got to like crush people to get that kind of a thought. You know what I mean? So it's like, whew, you got that nepotism and all that stuff you got to pass by, and it's tough. But it's like, hey, that's the challenge. It's like, where are you going to go next? So like, you say, is it possible? I was like, I don't know. Let's find out. Hey, challenge accepted. Let's do it. So it's those things. It's a weird way how my brain works, I guess. I'm just always trying to push and motivate myself to trick it because Andy has trained myself to trick myself to be successful. He always says, I'm tricking you to be rich, I'm tricking you to be successful. And once you start understanding the games that he's playing to get you to those spots, you can start getting good at tricking yourself to do those things. And it's teaching it to do it, but it's knowing those things. I think back, gosh, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago. We were in Treasure Island, and me and him went to Foxy's for lunch. And it's just, I told him, I said, I want to be the most, I want to be your right hand guy. I want to be the most, I want to be the most predictable and dependable person you have. I want to be the guy that you rely on. I want to be the one that sets the pace for the alliance. And he's like, and just like a coach, he's like, huh, well, we'll see. We'll see if you want to. And I'm like, we're right. We'll see. It's like, you could say challenge accepted, you could say this, but it's like that's what I feel like he's always told me ever since I met him. I've heard him say it from stage, I've heard him tell me um, the the best way to pay him back is to grow. And so I'm like, I need to be that guy that sets the pace, does the things. That's how you pay him back. So you think of the mentorship for the 18 years. It's like, how do you pay him back? Do the things that he says. I was like, I want to be that. 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 And it's those things that you're trying to challenge yourself with. I think Jane just told me I can't beat her kids, but we'll find out.
You are just as important.
Oh, I'm just as important to the kids. She lying. I don't know if I don't want to be just as important, Jane. I want to be more important. Is what I'm trying. Like that's how I'm working. So, but yeah. So that's kind of how you I don't know. I'm trying to motivate Brandon and Spencer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they got an advantage, and I'm still going to catch them too. So that's where I'm going for. So whatever advantage. Fitch had an advantage because he knew Andy 10 years before I did. Brandon and Spencer, have their advantages. So we're going to figure out how to take that one too. I'm not trying to hurt them. I'm just trying to beat them, so those kind of things. So, all right, real quick, we got a couple minutes left. These are some things. This is funny because I was taking notes on this, and then Mike Marisi came and asked me a question last night at the social here in California, and it was like right off these notes. I'm like, dude, I left my phone in the car. I wish I had them because I could have just copied and pasted these notes and send them to you. But it was like good practice for the call because he was making me go through them. So things that I try to do when I get time with Andy, when I know I'm going to be around him, I always have my team drawn out. So I like to draw my team out. I still do it old school. I'll refer to the arc where it draws it out for you so I don't miss things, but I still draw it out on paper. And I'll draw it out on paper. And when I'm with Andy, I have it right there so he can see the team drawn out and how I see the team. Now, sometimes he'll make adjustments and draw the team out differently. And he'll be like, ask questions and he'll say, I'd move this one here, I'd move this here. But I have my team drawn out so he has a clear picture of what I see. And then he'll coach me of what I'm not seeing with certain things and where I should be spending my time to work. So always, if you get around Andy, have your team drawn out so he can see what it looks like and how you look at your team. It's a great thing to just always get in front of him. I wouldn't say every time I'm around him, he looks at it, but I have it. So if he wants to see it, it's right here. Here's my team. Here's how I look at it. Here's where, it's a lot of the strategies too, because he had me talk yesterday about going to Tampa. I go to Tampa almost every 2 weeks, and it's like, and people are like, it's just because Brian and Michelle are your favorites, and I'm like, oh, my favorites are just, I have 6 legs there. It's my most important area. It's just they're lucky because they're in the area I have 6 legs at. That's why I got to be there a lot. So it's knowing like the team when you draw it out, knowing the things that you do, and knowing that when you have the team drawn out, have it in front of him so you can see, he will look at it and you'll get Andy's vision on your team and where if that was his team, how he would build it. And I just think that's huge. Always have it drawn out. If you have, and then make a list of questions for him, but you got to think your questions out because Andy's smart. Okay. He had there's got to be something out there, but he used to have, before there was vlogging there, he used to have when it was just writing stuff, what do they call that? I don't know. He had a thing talking about how to white sheet, and you should learn how to white sheet. It's just drawing like your question in the middle of a piece of paper and then thinking your thoughts all off of those questions. When you have questions for him, think through your questions. Like, don't just have a question and rely on Andy to do all the thinking of your question. Have ideas with ways to do it of whatever your question is. So when I have a question for Andy, I want to white sheet it first before I take the question to him. So I have actually thought about my question a little bit before I asked him. I think what I did early on would just be relying on Andy. Here's my question. Here's my answer. I put no effort into actually figuring out the question. And now that I white sheet my question before I ask him, it puts thought behind it so we can actually have a conversation about the question, not just here's my question, here's the answer. It's how we're gonna, because if you put thought into it before you ask him, then you guys can have a really good conversation to develop that way that you're going to attack that thing and really achieve the answer to that question faster, other than just yes. Or, yeah, you should do that because you've put thoughts into it. So you have to really put thought into your questions and then ask your question on top of it. So that's one thing I've really tried to do over the years is really put thoughts into my question. It makes me think of that T-shirt. It's like I see men wear them once in a while. It says, I don't need Google. I'm married. Like, because their wife has all the answers. It's like, don't rely on Andy. Don't be like, who needs Google? I have Andy Albright. No, like, don't make sure you Google think through your question before just asking him stuff, so you can actually have good stuff to do. So I always say, white sheet your questions before asking them so you can have really good questions for him and conversations with him on how to achieve those questions or those goals that you have for him. Another thing is with your questions for him, I would say, like, when you get around Andy, to ask him good questions, always be selfish with your questions. be asking questions that are leading you towards what you want, not what other people want. So be selfish thinking of how, when you come up with a question, be like I always laugh when they're like, what's the one thing, Andy, that's your one success? It's like, first off, it wasn't one thing that's led to a success. And two is that's not helping you get to your goal. Like, ask him questions that are leading you like to your goal. And one thing he's always taught me to do is, because when I first was trying to figure out ways to ask him questions, he would always say, what are your two biggest frustrations right now? Those are usually good questions to ask, like to go to him with. White sheet them first so you can think of ways to have conversations. But it's like, be selfish on getting you better, not trying to ask him questions to make him feel better about him and his success and those things. Always be selfish with your questions to grow your business, because remember, you're the way you make him feel good and the way you pay him and Jane back is to grow. It's not by asking them questions to boost their ego. It's by you growing. So you need to ask selfish questions so you can grow to pay them back. It's tricky, but that's how I've always looked at it. It's like, my questions need to be leading me to where I want to get, not to how Andy did this, or how'd you become an integrity partner? How'd you get a jet? How'd you do this? It's like, no, if you want a jet, those are questions asked, but it's got to lead, your questions need to be selfish. And asking them things from there. For me, it's always been my two biggest headaches. It's like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So, but yeah, that's kind of how I look at. I still got more. Sorry, but it's 18 years. It's a lot of stuff. But you have to come to like conference, and I'll tell you some more of the stuff that I didn't share on this. I guess we can see you at a family reunion. I'll share some more. We'll have lunch or something, and I'll get you there. But yeah, guys, it's so cool the way the business is set up and the mentorship. I would highly recommend getting with somebody in your upline. There's so many great leaders inside the alliance that get close to them, get around them. I would say do similar things that I did, like kind of like stalk them. You know what I mean? Stalk them, get around them, build that relationship. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone to build a relationship with them to really go do it. But I'm telling you right now, a tight relationship and a tight mentorship will become your most valuable thing in this business. I remember one conference I was at, and there was this lady on stage, and she had like 10 people there. And she's like, my downline's my lifeline. And he's like, your upline's your lifeline, not your downline. And he had to coach her through that. But it's like, you'll rely on great mentorship for everything. It's the thing that gets you through stuff. They answer the questions for you. They've probably dealt with the stuff you have to deal with. They show you how to get through it much faster, much smoother, much better. And build those relationships. There's a lot of great leaders inside the alliance that can help you if you really want to be helped. But they also say too, it's like, be careful what you wish for, because it's not easy. Yeah, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And I'm ever indebted to Andy and Jane Albright for the relationship I have with them and the things they've done for us over the years. And I'm looking forward to passing Brandon and Spencer. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Hope to see you guys in Cabo. All right, guys. Bye.